Okay, Mila, we're going to read a new book today. It's called The Barn Swallows
Was
Busy
busy your
Year. The Barn Swallows Busy Year. When you read that title, what do you think?
it's a busy year.
For who?
The birds.
Yeah, the barn swallow. Have you ever seen a swallow bird? They swoop down.
No.
Yeah, that's what this book is about. And on the back gives us a little bit about the story. At home in a barn, the barn swallows fly far away from their home. Can they find their barn again? So what do you think the purpose of this book is? What do you think the author wants us to read and find out?
Like
Let's read that again. Can they find their barn again?
can they find their barn again?
Yeah, they're going to find their barn again. And this book is kind of set up where it's like a year. So it starts with May, the month of May, and what the barn swallows do in May. And then it gets to June,
Kind of
July,
looks like on the front cover
August.
it's upside down.
It does, but they're up in the barn. So it's kind of set up across the year, and it's going to tell us what the barn swallows do. Okay? Someone's telling this story, okay? So someone's teaching us and telling this story to us. So it's told through their perspective, okay? So they're telling us, so when you're reading it, you can think about that too, okay? And you're going to see the word swallow a lot in this book, okay? So can you find it on this page? Swallow. Yeah, it's almost on every page because the author uses the word swallow because it's about a swallow, okay? And it's going to be a mother and father swallow and the baby swallows, okay? All right, you ready to get started? All right. The Barn Swallow's Busy Year.
One day in May, there were 4 baby swallows in a nest made of mud. The nest was in a barn. The babies wanted to be fed all day long.
What are you thinking about that after you read that first page? What are you thinking?
They're eating all day.
Yeah, they're eating all day. You were thinking that's kind of interesting, right? That they eat all day? Yeah, so the mother and father feed it, right? Let's see what else the mom and dad do.
The mother swallow flew down to the water to catch little flies for them. She came back to the nest again and again to feed her hungry babies.
Let's read that page again. Let's kind of pull it all together. You had to problem solve through that word flies, and you did a nice job doing that. Now let's pull it all together. So let's read that again.
The mother swallow flew down to the water to catch little flies from them for them. She came back to the nest again and again to feed her hungry babies.
So they eat flies. Let's see what else they do when they feed.
The father swallow flew down to the water to catch flies for them too. The babies got bigger and bigger, and at last they left the nest.
What does the author mean by, and at last they left the nest?
Like they...
How would you say that? The babies got bigger and bigger.
Like when they were like they left when they were bigger.
Yeah, they left when they were bigger. So you might say that babies got bigger and bigger and they finally left the nest, right? And at last they left the nest. You might say that they finally left the nest because they're old enough now, right? So they're being fed and they're old enough to go fly on their own. Let's see what they do.
The babies flew around looking for flies too. Now there were 6 swallows catching little flies down by the water.
What are you thinking?
There's 6 of them going down and catching like flies. Like that.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them, right? They're by the barn. They're off and running, aren't they? Their mom and dad took care of them
I
throughout.
don't like summer because there's mosquitoes that bite me.
Yeah, swallows actually
I
eat the
know-
mosquitoes.
I know why my grandma gets bite. She eats candy sometimes for breath.
So the swallows actually are they swallow the flies and the mosquitoes and all that. Do you think that's maybe why they're called swallows? That might be something we find out. Let's see what they do in August.
But could winter days were going to come and flies did
Be flexible with that vowel.
die in the winter.
What do you think? Let's try that again. Something didn't seem right in this first sentence.
But cold,
Try it.
cold,
When I say try it, that means do the whole sentence. So
But
try it in that sentence.
cold winter days were going to come and flies die in the winter.
What do you think? Yeah, what is the author trying to tell us there?
They die in the winter.
Because it's cold, right? Yeah.
And then there's no food for them.
Right. So let's see what else happens to the swallows.
The swallows had to fly away before the winter came. It was time for them to go.
Do you remember when we read here? The barn swallows fly far away from their home. Can they find their barn again? So they're telling us they go somewhere in the winter. Where do you think they go?
The barn.
Do you think so? Let's read and see if we find out.
Or
Let's see what they
fly
do
to
in
like a warm place.
a warm place. So you're thinking change the letter. Let's see what happens in August.
The swallows flew all day and they flew all night. On and on they went over the sea and over the land.
What are your thoughts? Did you confirm your thinking there? What did you confirm? What did you say?
I said they're gonna fly to a warmer place.
Yeah, and I think this is what the author's telling us. They flew over the land and the sea. So it's August, so let's see what they do. Let's see what happens. Now it's September, October.
At last, the hungry swallows came to a warm place. The sun was out all day, and there were lots of flies to eat. The swallows stayed there for a long time.
What are your thoughts?
I said they were going to a warmer place. Warm place.
Yeah, the author, you confirmed your thinking there. Right up here, it has the time they spent there. Do you know what these?
November, December, January, February, March.
So when it said they stayed there for a long time, the author tells us how many months did they stay there? 5 months. All right, let's see how this book ends in April and May.
But in May, it was nesting time again, and the swallows had to fly home. They flew and flew and flew all the way back to the barn.
That's amazing, isn't it? What did you learn when we read this story?
So they first were winter days were coming, and then they flew to a warmer place for a long time, and then they flew back to the barn because it was nesting time.
Yeah, they went all the way back to the barn, right? In the back of this book, it's called Migration. So let's read what it says about migration.
Many
Birds have to fly to warmer places during the cold months so they can find the insects and seeds they need to eat.
Barn swallows, like the ones in this book, can fly up to 60 miles in one day. In the spring, these birds fly back home to build their nests and have babies.
Build their nests and have babies. Yeah, let's go back up here. Barn swallows, like the ones in this book, can fly up to 600 miles. That's far, isn't it? Yeah. And so what do we call that? We call it migration. So when they migrate to a different place. So there's lots of interesting things. So let's go back here for a second, and I'm going to share some things with you I noticed that you did. When we came to this page, you tried to, or you did, let me see. You did a nice job of knowing it didn't seem right, and you self-corrected or you fixed it when you did that. You were saying one word and then you said it correctly because it didn't sound right. You did that right. But when we were on this page, when we were back on this page, I'm trying to figure out where we were. We had to go back and reread, remember? Because you didn't fix it. You didn't self-correct.
It was on the page before this because I said could.
Yeah, thank you. You found it. Good. So you didn't go back and do that when you said something. So one time you did. You went back and you knew something wasn't right, and you were kind of monitoring that and you were figuring it out. But then in this page, we didn't. So we want to always consider doing that, right? When something doesn't seem right, we go back and try it. Okay. All right.